Investopedia.com defines business ethics as the study of appropriate business policies and practices regarding potentially controversial subjects. Some of these include corporate governance, insider trading, bribery, and corporate social responsibility. The law often guides business ethics, but at other times, business ethics provide a basic guideline that businesses can choose to follow to gain public approval. The opinion of the public often drives companies into the ground or rapidly increases its value. A good public opinion about a company's ethical procedures and social responsibility as a company can greatly increase profit in the long run and keep those other companies from participating in unethical practices. It is a study, theoretical. Simply put, it is proven to work in most cases, but of course the field of ethics is not a concrete one. I think ethical behavior has changed with the culture over time, but I believe that is due to events surrounding unethical behavior. Founded in 1985, Enron Corporation began as a merger between two smaller regional companies. Over time, Enron received the title America's Most Innovative Company for 6 years in a row. So what happened? In the year 2000, Enron was reporting over $100 billion in revenues, and at its peak, Enron's shares were valued at $90.75. Enron's leadership was fooling regulators with fake holdings and off-the-book accounting practices. Andrew Fastow, who was named CFO in 1998, used SPVs, special purpose vehicles, to hide debt and assets which were incurring losses. Despite the way the numbers were looking, Enron was well on its way to collapse, and the company itself was not the only group who suffered when Enron declared bankruptcy in 2001. Enron's accounting firm Arthur Andersen and partner David Duncan, among many other shareholders, were under fire as the SEC was investigating the scandal. It was estimated that in 4 years leading up to Enron's bankruptcy, shareholders lost $74 billion, according to Investopedia. Enron's collapse and the financial catastrophe caused because of the illegal and unethical practices of its leaders led to new regulations and new legislation. In 2002, only months after Enron filed for bankruptcy, President George W. Bush signed the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or SOX, into law, greatly increasing the consequences for destroying, altering, or fabricating financial statements and defrauding shareholders. The Financial Accounting Standards Board, FASB, also raised levels of ethical conduct and regulation. The Enron scandal raised awareness to frauds occurring at several other large companies and Wall Street banks, including WorldCom and HealthSouth, which furthered the awakening of unethical practices. Events like these shake society as a whole. There is more at stake than just looking good as a company and maximizing shareholder wealth. I would argue that we are all stakeholders of companies today that are as large as Enron because of the financial burden it can have on the economy. Firms like Amazon, Walmart, Apple, the list goes on. There has to be a balance in varying stakeholder interests. Through passing Sarbanes-Oxley, the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board was created to help restore investor confidence after such a large scandal. The board's job was essentially to oversee auditors of public companies to help limit the liability and risk of fraud moving forward. Today, we are in a very good spot with how much media and material is put out every single day explaining the changing desire of consumers for companies who apply ethical principles and practices who are socially responsible. I mentioned the financial toll fraudulent practices can have on our nation, but we can see now that companies have non-financial responsibilities as well. Part of the reason our nation has been implementing these new regulations and laws is to provide a foundation of corporate social responsibility in every industry in America. But as of now, the leaders of those companies who take responsibility to the next level have found the greatest success. On November 4th in 2003, the SEC approved new rules proposed and adopted by the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ stock market, requiring standardized procedures of corporate governance, auditing, director nominations, and compensation. According to the Department of Justice, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, as amended in 2007, was enacted to prevent unlawful payments to foreign government officials to assist in obtaining or retaining business. In 2012, the Dodd-Frank Act formally enhanced rewards and protections for whistleblowers. people who expose information or activity that is deemed illegal or unethical. Among other legislation and regulation passed over the recent decade, ethical behavior has become a major concern and remains a priority in the lives of people and businesses. Instead of companies having a rules-based organizational culture where compliance proves positive and opposition brings punishment, the best companies are implementing a values-based ethics culture and understand asking "should I" to various situations will bring value to society, will balance varying stakeholder interests, will hold companies non-financially accountable as well as financially accountable, and ultimately further the success of business in America.